So if we actually voted, which we don't, last midterm we voted around 20%, but if we actually did vote in force, we would have the most power, and we could dictate who we send to office, because we would have that voting block. But I think what should drive us to the polls is we have more at stake here than anyone else. With climate change, if it's going to be the problems that have been caused by people who went before us, those issues, we are the ones who are going to be dealing with the repercussions for it. We're the ones who are going to figure out this healthcare mess. We're the ones who are going to have to figure out how to pay back $20 trillion in national debt. We're the ones who are going to have to figure out how to rebuild the alliances that are being destroyed by the current administration. So there's all these issues, if you look at, they were not created by us, but we're the ones who are going to have to figure them out. And what better way to start than now, instead of waiting another 20 years and letting things get worse. So we have the most at stake. So that, I think, is a very powerful argument for electing more young people to office. Also, if you look at how big of a part of the population we are and how few of us are in Congress or in any elected positions, we are severely underrepresented. And I think young people are right to say, we're tired of piecemeal solutions. If student debt is an issue, which it is, a $1.5 trillion crisis in America right now, yet you pass a tax bill that costs $1.5 trillion. So don't say we don't have the money for these issues. The Iraq War cost $6 trillion when all is said and done. Even the most modest estimates of Medicare for all don't put it at that much money. So the money is being spent, and the decisions to spend the money have been made by people, but they're just not on the issues that drive so many of us and that keep us up at night. And young people are right to demand political leaders that stop proposing these half-loaf, piecemeal solutions.
Have you seen them become more involved as a reaction to Trump, or as maybe
a reaction
to Bernie?
I think people. What I heard from young people was not, I don't care. It was, I'm not political. It is, yes, I care about the environment, I care about net neutrality, I care about student debt, I care about healthcare, but I don't think the answer is in politics, because no matter who we elect, Democrats, Republicans, nothing changes. And you get that, you understand it. I mean, because our party is not proposing solutions to these issues. We have to stand confidently behind what we believe in, which is a healthcare system that doesn't matter what income bracket you're from. It's just, you should have a simple premise that no one should go bankrupt because they get sick. That should be the baseline. Thank you very much. Delicious. And no one should go bankrupt from trying to get an education. If you work hard and do everything right, you should be rewarded for that. And right now we have a situation where you can do everything right, and you get cancer or a family member gets sick, and everyone is on the verge. You're just $500 away from everything going wrong. And that is scary. I mean, half of America is $500 away from bankruptcy. Well, I mean, there's so many, and I think young people care deeply about this, but just don't see the people who run for office or in office as being vocal about what we can do about it. I think it is solutions-based. And it's like bold solutions. It's about, I don't like when people say, oh, Medicare for all means you're like on the left. It's not about the left and the right. It is about, here's the crisis. We have a private health insurance industry that basically views claims. This is on a balance sheet. And as a private business, you have a fiduciary duty to your shareholders to make sure that revenues go up and expenses go down. That is by law. Like you as a publicly traded company, that is your obligation. If you violate that, you are violating a fiduciary duty to your shareholders, and you could be criminally liable. So you're required by law to make sure that you're doing everything you can to increase revenue and decrease expenses. Revenue is how much you're paying in health insurance. Revenue is how much people are paying for their premiums and are paying for their health insurance. Expenses are how much it costs to pay for someone when something goes wrong. So if your incentive is to increase can I do some more coffee when you get a chance to? is to increase one and decrease the other, what's going to happen? Exactly what you have now. A system that just does not work. I think you could, if you sat down with even the health insurance executives in this country and put a polygraph test on them and said, do you believe the system works? They'll tell you, no, it doesn't. There's so many holes to it. And this is what government can't do everything, of course not. But one of the reasons that we create government institutions is when the private sector can't meet this demand in society. That's when government can step in and help. There's no private sector incentive to put up fire extinguishers. So fire hydrants. So what do? Government does it. There's no private sector incentive to put up traffic lights. So what do? Government does it. Private sector does many things well. Here we are at a wonderful diner. The food industry, if you look at my iPhone and the clothing we wear, I mean, the private sector does many things very, very efficiently, much more efficiently than government could ever do it. And that's the way it should be. That's why we are in a capitalist society. But when you find those things where it's not working, that's when you need government intervention. And that's why we're needing the healthcare system. We spend 18% of our economy on healthcare. That's twice what almost any other industrialized nation does. We spend $10,000 a year per American on private healthcare, twice as much as any other nation. So we were number one in spending, but we're about 35th in results. So something is clearly wrong here. And that to me is I don't look at this as like a left being left. It is, no one would say candidates to support Social Security are on the left. No, we believe that if you paid into a system your whole life, when you retire, you should get your money out of it. These should not be left and right issues, and I don't think they are. I really don't believe they are. So that is why, to me, yeah, as a younger candidate, if I'm considering who to vote for, and the Republican says, I believe in leaving the health insurance, the health as it is, and the Democrat says, I believe in leaving it as it is. If healthcare is my number one issue, why should I vote for either of them? Why should I even care about the electoral system? I'd rather go and organize on my campus for something else. So young people definitely care, but I think we have to re-engage young people in the political process. It has to be because we have to talk clearly and boldly and proudly about these issues in a way that this actually has a chance of solving them and making a difference in people's lives. That the crisis we face is so bad that we can no longer just be like, the partisan bickering is just not going to work anymore. And talk about the environment. Absolutely. I mean, we're not, apart from even the outdoors and the environment, the economy of it is, there's millions of green jobs being created around the globe. Like, why not create them here in America? Why not create them here in New York 19? 10 of the 11 counties in this district have higher education institutions. This is a beautiful incubator for green jobs. The largest solar panel manufacturer in the United States is being built up in Buffalo. I mean, and you can do these things in partnership with universities, and we can do it here. We are the largest congressional district by geography in New York. There's land for solar. There is enormous amounts on the economic side, and on the saving our planet. This is something that all of us should be able to get behind and be reasonable about it. Like, whether or not you think man is the sole cause of climate change or just a contributor to it, there is still plenty of incentive for both parties to say we should meaningfully reduce the amount of pollutants we put into the atmosphere. We should try to have clean water. Democrats and Republicans both love clean water, as you know. So there is, I think, lots of common ground. And I think our generation is going to say, these things are reaching crisis levels. We don't have time to just, I'm not going to work with you because you're a Republican. I'm not going to work with you because you're a Democrat. We can't. We're past. We're almost getting to the point where we're past the point of no return. So, if I hope that I have the opportunity to serve, this community in a representative capacity, in government at some point, whether that's an elected office or working for someone in an elected office, or public service is what I care deeply about. But I hope that we can put some of these very petty differences aside and find common ground and work together. I'm doing events across the river tonight. I'm doing events up in Columbia County, Sullivan County, all over this district in the next few days. Democrats are more engaged and active than I've ever seen them in this district. And we're the most highest turnout in a Democratic primary in June. We were number one in New York State. The headline of that night was what happened with Ocasio-Cortez and Joe Crowley. We doubled their turnout here than they did down there. We had an extraordinary turnout, and there is such an engaged, people are so engaged here. I don't think Antonio is going to win just by what some of the polls have said. I think he's actually going to win by a much larger margin than people think because of how engaged people are here. Politics is very simple at the end of the day. You are paid by the taxpayers. In Congress, a lot of money, $178,000 a year or so. You're paid by the taxpayers to go to Washington and fight for this community, fight for the people in this community. Where there are problems, propose bills or propose funding to help with those problems. Where there are needs of constituents, have offices. When people want to talk to you, you want to be accessible. Faso has failed in every regard. He closed his office. Chris Gibson had an office in Sullivan County, in Liberty. Faso closed it. Chris Gibson had an office in Hyde Park in Dutchess County. Faso closed it. Chris Gibson had a presence up in Cooperstown. Faso had nothing. Faso closed all these offices, so he's not accessible. Refused to do town hall meetings. Doesn't matter what party you're from. You do town hall meetings. It's not that hard. I went to every town in this district, in that 163. Just start by doing every county. Doing a town hall in every county. Talk to your constituents. And then when the bills come up that affect this community, vote on the right side of them. He's voted against us on the environment, when it was the stream protection rule. When Trump proposed rolling back the Clean Power Plan, he said it wouldn't affect New York 19. You can go issues by issue by issue by issue, and he voted against the interests of this community. Why? I think he has his eye on what his next job is going to be after he loses this race, which is going to be becoming a lobbyist again. I went to communities up in Schoharie County and other communities and said, "Hi, do you remember me? I'm John Faso. I was your assemblyman. And now I'm here for something else. I want you to support this pipeline." While he's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's everything that people hate about politics, which is you elect someone, they go to Albany or Washington, and the moment they leave office, they use that experience and they use those connections and the trust they've built to enrich themselves. It's that revolving door. And that's why people don't like Faso. Chris Gibson left office, term limits, when he became a professor, teaching and mentoring younger people. This is a person who is not in it for the people, and you can go back to his career from the late 1980s. He never has been, and it's the kind of I have someone who is, I want to go into there and work together with both parties. We cannot have people in office who are solely in it for themselves, for their own pocketbooks, or to satisfy some long-held ideological agenda. Well, the district used to be, Kirsten Gillibrand had a part of it. She had, almost all of Columbia County, Greene, a little part of Dutchess, up north Rensselaer County. And more recent, she had Ulster County, Sullivan County, and then out part of Delaware, but out west to Ithaca. So it was two different districts, which after 2012, and New York State lost two congressional seats, it got consolidated. But the area, it's definitely changed. But Kingston, where we are now, this used to be an IBM town. At its peak in the 1980s, we were 7,000 jobs here in Kingston. This is a town right now, 28,000 people. Kingston had 7,000 jobs from IBM over at what now is Tech City. So it really was an industrial base. Kingston, we lost IBM in the 1990s, and the town, it was a death blow. I think no one thought Kingston could come back from that, but we have. It has been through people who have, I think it's been really two things. We've had really exceptional local leaders. Our current mayor, Mayor Noble, has been someone who's been such a great spokesperson for this city. Very active. Oh, thank you so much. It's been a very focused local leadership. Thank you. And also, people have come here, and maybe they moved here from the city, and they found cheap storefront, and they started a business, and they believed in Kingston, and they've helped really the renaissance of this city, which has affected the whole. I think it's the entire region has seen a rebirth. And we have look at the natural assets we have in terms of how the beauty of the Hudson River Valley with the Catskill Mountains. You know, go out to the Delaware River, where you have the Delaware River Valley out there. I mean, the natural beauty is unmatched. We are the amount of food that's produced here, fruit that is grown. It used to be a big dairy. In Otsego County, Delaware County used to be the biggest dairy producing counties in the state. So the amount of produce that it comes out of this area. We have a lot of assets. I said 10 of the 11 counties have higher education institutions. We are between Albany and New York City. I mean, there's a lot of the ingredients for making this a place that is really, booming economically are there. I think it's just there's small things that need to be done. I think one of the reasons I ran was I thought this area, one of Fasso's big shortcomings, he's not really a spokesperson for this region. Every time he talks about the area, it's upstate New York, everyone's leaving, it's terrible. Well, you've been in office since the 1980s. Either you're ineffective or you're part of the problem. Let's talk about the great things that are happening here. Let's put our region on the front cover of Time magazine, talk about all the new businesses that are coming in, the young people which are starting new ventures here. We are upstate New York is the 4th largest music industry in the United States. So there's an incredible amount of creative talent here and energy, and let's put that on the map. Let's make it, let's highlight the good things that are happening in the area.